These cops are breathing down my goddamn neck. This is not a normal Christmas for me. I have to meet you guys." Late on the night of December 20th, a disheveled and visibly shaken John Wayne Gacy rushed to his lawyer Sam Amarante's office. As the prime suspect in the disappearance of 15-year-old Robert Payest, Gacy was under constant police surveillance. Officers Michael Albrecht and Dave Hackmeister, stationed outside, watched his every move. The meeting was expected to be brief, but as the minutes stretched on, Gacy remained inside, leaving the officers uneasy. By 2 a.m., in the darkness of the night, there was still no sign of activity. Concerned, Officer Albrecht approached the office to knock on the window, but before he could, Gacy's attorney opened the door and invited the officers inside. He offered them a drink and set up chairs in the hallway where they could keep an eye on Gacy through the glass entrance. Meanwhile, Gacy was handed a bottle of whiskey. He downed 2 cups in quick succession and began rambling incoherently. Sam Amarante's patience snapped, his doubts about his client growing. Slamming a copy of the Daily Herald onto the desk, he jabbed a finger at the photo of Rob Payest. "John, you said you needed to talk, so talk, and don't give me any more of your tired bullshit." Gacy slumped, his bloodshot eyes betraying his exhaustion. He stared at the paper before tapping the picture. "This boy," he said softly, "this boy is dead. He's dead. This isn't the boy from the drugstore, but this boy is dead. He's in the river." The room fell silent. Amarante leaned forward, his face tense. "What the f*** are you talking about, John? This is Robbie Payest, the one from the drugstore, the kid everyone's been looking for."
"Listen, look at this, Gacy. Look at this, John. This kid is missing. They think you did it. Stop lying to me."
Gacy, now drunk, began to ramble. He called himself the judge, jury, and executioner of his victims, confessing to at least 30 murders. Most, he admitted, were buried beneath his house, while others were dumped in the Des Plaines River. Shockingly, Gacy claimed he sometimes woke up to find young men strangled in handcuffs, as if it had happened without his involvement. He coldly referred to his victims as liars and prostitutes, and even described their bodies as his property. In the middle of this chilling confession, Gacy passed out. At 8:20 a.m., after sleeping for hours, Gacy was woken up. He left the office in a hurry, brushing past the men keeping watch without acknowledging their presence, got into his car, and drove off. The officers immediately followed him into the morning traffic, determined not to lose sight of the man who had kept everyone on edge through the night. Gacy's first stop was a gas station, where owner John Lucas had begun referring to him and his police tail as the circus train. He had initially claimed the officers were his bodyguards, but Lucas was skeptical, especially after hearing him tell an attendant, "Watch me lose these guys." Once a reliable customer, Gacy was now making Lucas incredibly uneasy. At the pump, Gacy approached Lance Jacobson, a young employee, and pulled out a clear plastic bag filled with hand-rolled cigarettes. Nudging Jacobson, he offered the bag, but the young man declined, earning a surprised look from Gacy. The two headed into the station. From the pumps, the officers watched as Gacy discreetly slipped the bag into Jacobson's pocket. This time, Jacobson didn't refuse. Afterward, Gacy shared an emotional goodbye with Lucas. Double handshakes, shoulder pats, and a lingering farewell. "Don't charge anything else to my account unless it's for me," he told Lucas. "We've been friends. You're like a brother. I can't take much more." With that, Gacy left, one officer following him as he drove away. The remaining officer stayed at the station, where Jacobson handed him the bag. Inside was marijuana. "I didn't want to take it," the young man explained. "I told Gacy he was crazy, but he just said, 'Take it. The end is coming. These guys are going to kill me.'" Around 9:30 a.m., Gacy's next stop was the home of Ron Rode on Summerdale, an acquaintance. He stayed for about half an hour before stepping outside for another emotional goodbye. Gacy walked to his car with tears streaming down his face. Instead of heading home, Gacy returned to the gas station. From their cars, the officers watched as he repeated his farewell routine, handshakes and shoulder pats, with Lucas. This time, Lucas glanced at the officers with an awkward, almost embarrassed expression. Gacy, visibly drained, looked as though he might collapse any moment. Back on the expressway, Gacy's head began to bob, and his driving turned erratic, as if he were intoxicated. Concerned that he might attempt to harm himself by crashing into a bridge, Officer Albrecht pulled alongside him. At first, it looked like Gacy was shaving. He was holding something up to his chin. Honking to get his attention, the officer caught Gacy's glare and realized the object in his hand wasn't a razor. It was a rosary. Gacy exited the expressway at Lawrence Avenue and turned onto a side street near a lumberyard. As he slowed down, Officer Albrecht had a chance to survey the area. He noticed gravel, heavy equipment, and building materials, landmarks that matched the description from an anonymous caller a few days earlier. The tipster had claimed to know where the bodies of Gacy's victims were buried, and this appeared to be the site she had mentioned. Just as Albrecht radioed his discovery to the other officers, Gacy suddenly accelerated. Gacy arrived at Chris Gray's house, where Dick Walsh was unloading tools. Both men were known acquaintances of his. Gacy pleaded with Walsh to talk, saying it might be their last meeting. Walsh reluctantly agreed, but left shortly after, visibly disturbed. When questioned by the officers about the conversation, he only said that Gacy was upset, acting erratically, and that he wanted no further involvement. Afterwards, Gacy spoke with Chris Gray and convinced him to drive him to meet his attorney, Stevens, at a nearby restaurant. The police followed cautiously. Upon arriving at the restaurant, Gacy joined his attorney, Stevens, while Chris Gray, who had driven him, lingered nearby, visibly unsettled. Gray quietly confided to the officers that Gacy had been taking pills throughout the morning, visiting friends to bid emotional farewells, and had confessed to his lawyers about killing over 30 people. "When we leave here, don't lose us, please," Gray pleaded, his voice trembling. Their next destination was the cemetery to visit Gacy's father's grave. Chris Gray warned the officers not to lose sight of them under any circumstances, fearing he might harm himself or even turn on him. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, additional officers were called in to ensure Gacy remained under constant watch and could not escape their surveillance. The team was on edge as they debated their next move. Concerned about the risk of Gacy escaping or acting violently, one of the officers radioed the station for guidance. "Should we take him in?" The detective in charge replied cautiously, "If you have an arrest, take him. Otherwise, use your discretion." One of the officers pointed out that they had evidence of narcotics possession. This revelation was relayed to the station, where detectives knew time was critical. Just a few more hours were needed to finalize a search warrant for Gacy's house, which could secure a solid arrest for murder. But every moment Gacy remained free heightened the risk. Weighing the options felt like an eternity compressed into seconds, but finally, the decision was made. Take him down. At the corner of Milwaukee and Oakton in Niles, the surveillance team closed in on Gacy after 8 relentless days of tracking him. He had manipulated the officers, praising one shift while mocking another, but in the final moments, all rivalry vanished. In full view of startled motorists and nearby diners, the team boxed in Gacy's car and surrounded it with guns drawn. An officer yanked open the passenger door, aiming his pistol. "Get out of the car, John. You're under arrest." Gacy, stunned, feigned innocence. "What's the matter? What have I done?" he asked. He was cuffed, frisked, and placed in the back of a police car after an unmarked container of pills was found in his pocket. Later that day, police secured a search warrant for Gacy's home. When confronted, he said they wouldn't find Pius, but admitted to killing another man in self-defense. At the house, investigators drained the flooded crawl space and uncovered human remains within minutes. As they dug deeper, more bodies and skulls emerged, exposing the horrifying scale of Gacy's crimes and confirming his house as a mass grave. What part of Gacy's story shocked you the most? Don't forget to like this video to support more true crime content and subscribe to the channel for more gripping stories like this. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next one.